My name is Elena. I am a widow. I live in a small, cold house in a war-raging country. My husband died in the war 1 year ago. He left me with our baby boy and a heart full of pain. Since then, every day has been a fight. I cook with what little I have. I gather firewood when I can. I speak to no one. The neighbors lost family too. Nobody smiles anymore. One cold evening, I was chopping carrots in the kitchen when I heard the door burst open. I turned around, startled. A man stood there, tall and thin, with dirt on his face and torn clothes. His eyes were wild. He looked like he had not eaten in days. His hands were shaking. My first thought was fear. In his hands, he held a rifle. I dropped the knife and stepped back. I couldn't speak. My heart jumped in my chest. I thought I might scream. But then, something strange happened. The man raised both hands and placed the rifle on the floor. He didn't point it at me. He didn't speak. He just looked at me, tired and scared. I realized then he wasn't here to hurt me. He was running from something. I stared at him for a long moment. My eyes went to the rifle. I pointed at it. I wanted it far away from me. He understood. He picked it up slowly and walked to the corner of the room. He placed it gently on a wooden table near the wall. Then he stepped back. He said in a soft voice, "I mean no harm. Please. Just food." I said nothing, but I did not scream. I could see the truth now. He was a soldier, or at least he used to be, but he had no uniform. He looked like a deserter. My husband had worn a uniform too. He never came back. I hated war. I hated soldiers. But this man looked broken. He had the eyes of someone who had seen too much. I should have told him to leave. I should have said, "Get out." But I didn't. My heart burned with grief. And maybe that pain made room for kindness. I gave him a quiet nod and turned toward the pot on the fire. I added more water and more potatoes. He stood near the door, waiting like a dog who had been kicked too many times. I didn't ask his name. I didn't want to know. I just gave him a bowl and a spoon. He sat on the floor and ate slowly, like he hadn't tasted warm food in days. When he finished, he looked up. "Thank you," he said. His voice was low and hoarse. "Do you have a barn or a shed?" I didn't answer right away. Then I pointed to the back door. "There's a small shed. You can stay there for 1 night. But tomorrow, you go." He nodded. "I understand." I gave him a blanket. Then I looked through the chest where I kept my husband's old clothes. I handed him a coat, a pair of pants, and a wool shirt. He took them with both hands, like they were something holy. "There's a bucket of hot water in the shed," I said. "Wash before you sleep." He left through the back door. I watched him from the kitchen window. He walked slowly, limping a little. He opened the door of the shed and stepped inside. I saw the candlelight flicker behind the frosted glass. Then I saw him take off his dirty coat. He sat on a stool and washed his face, his arms, and his chest. Then he reached for the clothes I had given him. He put them on slowly. And that's when something happened in my chest. I saw him wear my husband's coat. That same brown coat with a missing button. My heart burned with grief. I turned away from the window and covered my face with my hands. That night, I could not sleep. The wind was cold. I held my baby close to my chest and looked at the dark ceiling. I thought about the man in the shed. I wondered if he was sleeping or still awake, watching the shadows like I was. I felt something strange. Not love, not fear, just a deep, deep sadness. I missed having someone next to me. I missed warmth. I missed another human voice in the dark. After some time, I got out of bed. I picked up the candle and walked to the shed. The floor creaked under my feet. I opened the door slowly. He looked up, surprised. His face was calm, but tired. "I can't sleep," I said. He said nothing. I stepped inside. "It's too cold in the house," I added, though it wasn't true. I sat on the floor beside him and placed the candle on a wooden box. For a long time, we said nothing. I leaned against the wall. My shoulder touched his. He sat still, like a statue. Then, slowly, I placed my hand on his. It was cold. He didn't pull away, but he didn't move either. I looked at his face. He stared at the floor. I leaned my head on his shoulder. My eyes filled with tears. I didn't want to speak. I didn't want comfort. I just wanted not to be alone. My body shook with quiet sobs. I missed my husband. I missed feeling safe. I missed feeling loved. The man stayed still. He didn't move. His face was calm but distant. I thought maybe he didn't understand. Or maybe he was afraid too. But just when I thought he would push me away, he spoke 2 simple sentences. "I'm not a good man," he said, "but I won't hurt you." That was all. But those words stayed with me. I closed my eyes and cried in silence. Not because I believed him, but because I wanted to. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. The next morning, I woke up early. The sky was still dark. I made porridge with the last bit of grain I had. My baby was still sleeping. I placed the bowl on the windowsill and looked toward the shed. The candle was no longer burning, but I saw smoke coming from the chimney. He was still there. I did not know what to do next. I told him he could only stay for one night. But where could he go? Soldiers were everywhere now. They were looking for men like him, deserters. If they caught him, they would kill him. And maybe they would hurt me too, just for helping him. I brought him some food and knocked gently on the shed door. He opened it slowly. He looked cleaner now, though still tired. He had shaved with my old knife. He wore my husband's coat, and that made something twist in my stomach. He took the bowl and gave me a small smile. "You didn't have to," he said. I shrugged. "Eat before it gets cold." I turned to go back inside, but he spoke again. "My name is Ivan." I stopped. "I didn't ask." "I know," he said softly, "but I wanted you to know anyway." I went back inside and tried to do chores, but my hands were shaking. I kept thinking about what I was doing. Hiding a man from the army, feeding him, giving him shelter. What if someone saw? What if they told? The village was quiet now, but I had heard the stories. Soldiers breaking into homes, taking food, taking people, hurting women. I looked at my baby. He was awake now, kicking gently under the blanket. I picked him up and kissed his cheek. He smiled. For that small moment, the fear disappeared. Later that day, while I was collecting firewood near the shed, Ivan came out. He walked slowly, his steps unsure. "Can I help you?" he asked. I looked at him. He was thin, still limping, but he tried to carry a small bundle of wood. "You should rest," I said. "I've rested enough." We didn't speak after that. We just worked. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel completely alone. That night, he went back to the shed without asking for anything. He didn't come to the house. He didn't knock. He knew his place. And somehow, that made me trust him more. But peace never lasts long in times like these. The next morning, I heard the sound of boots. Many boots. Marching on the road that passed our house. I looked out the window and saw them. Soldiers. 5 of them. Armed. Angry. Their faces were hard. My heart stopped. I ran to the back door and opened it quietly. "Go," I whispered. "Go now." Ivan looked at me. "What's happening?" "Soldiers. Patrol. Looking for men like you." He didn't ask anything else. He grabbed his coat and slipped out the back window of the shed. I rushed back into the house. My hands were shaking. My baby cried. I picked him up and held him close. Then came the knock. Loud. Demanding. I opened the door slowly. One of the soldiers stepped forward. "We're looking for a man," he said. Tall. Thin. Black hair. Maybe hiding in homes. "Have you seen anyone like that?" I shook my head. "Only me and my child live here." Another soldier pushed past him and walked into the house. He didn't ask for permission. He looked around, opening doors, checking corners. My legs felt weak. The third soldier noticed the bowl on the table. "You made food this morning?" he asked. I nodded. "For myself." He walked over and picked up the bowl. He sniffed it, then tasted the last bit left at the bottom. He looked at the others. "Warm," he said. "Someone else ate this." I didn't know what to say. My throat was dry. Then one of them stepped forward and took my baby from my arms. "No!" I shouted. "Please, he's just a child." But they didn't care. They carried him outside and placed him on the frozen ground. He was naked, crying, shivering. I screamed. One of the soldiers looked at me with cold eyes. "Tell us where the man is, or your baby dies." My legs gave out. I fell to my knees. My heart broke in that moment. I couldn't lose my child. I couldn't watch him die. "There's no man," I said, "but I have food hidden in the cellar. Please, just take it. Let my baby live." They dragged me to the cellar door. I opened it and showed them sacks of potatoes, some dried meat, and jars of pickled vegetables. They took everything. They didn't thank me. They didn't speak. I ran back outside and picked up my baby. He was still crying, but he was alive. I wrapped him in a blanket and held him close. One soldier watched us. He didn't look angry like the others. His eyes were softer. He reached into his bag and pulled out a wool coat. He placed it over my baby without saying a word. Then he turned and walked back toward the others. I looked up at him, and for a second I saw something human. Something kind. But it wasn't over. Two of the soldiers stayed behind. They grabbed my arm. "There's more here. You're hiding something else," one of them said. "No, I swear," I cried. "You took everything." "Not everything," he said with a cruel smile. They dragged me back into the house. My baby cried in my arms. I was screaming. I thought it was the end. What they didn't know was that Ivan hadn't run far. He had hidden just beyond the trees. He heard everything. He saw what they did. And he didn't run. Not this time. As the soldiers pulled me inside, the front door slammed open. Ivan stood there, breathing hard, holding an axe in both hands. He didn't wait. He swung once. The first soldier fell. The second turned, pulling out his rifle, but Ivan didn't stop. He hit again, harder. The room was filled with noise, with panic, blood, then silence. I stood there, frozen, still holding my baby. Ivan looked at me. His eyes were dark, wild, but full of fire. Then we heard footsteps. One more soldier outside. The one who had given my baby the coat. Ivan grabbed the rifle from the floor. He pointed it at the door, ready to kill again. But when the last soldier entered, he raised his hands. He didn't pull his gun. He looked at the scene, then at me, then at the baby. He dropped his own weapon and stepped back. Ivan lowered the gun. Nobody spoke. For a long moment, we just stood there, breathing, alive. I sat on the floor, holding my baby, my arms still shaking. The fire crackled in the corner, the only sound in the room. The two soldiers lay motionless. Ivan stood near the door, watching the last soldier, the one who had spared us, the one who had not lifted his weapon. For a long time, nobody said a word. The soldier's hands were still in the air. His eyes looked at me, then at Ivan. "I won't say anything," he said, his voice low and unsure. "I didn't come here to kill anyone." Ivan didn't move. He kept the rifle close to his chest. I stood slowly. "He saved my baby," I whispered. "Let him go." Ivan looked at me. I didn't know what he would choose. He had blood on his hands now. There was no going back. But he nodded once. "Leave," he said. "Now." The soldier stepped outside without another word. He walked away, his boots silent in the snow. Ivan dropped the rifle and leaned against the door frame. He looked tired, more than tired, like his body had no more strength left. I took a deep breath. "You can't stay here anymore," I said quietly. "They'll come back. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe in a week. But they'll come." He didn't argue. He just looked down. "I know." That night, I packed a small bag with what little food I had left. Bread, some cheese, a jar of beans. I wrapped a scarf around it and gave it to him. "There's a path through the woods," I said. "It leads to the river. Follow it until you see a wooden bridge. After that, I don't know." He looked at the bag in his hands. Then he looked at me. "You saved me," he said. "No," I replied. "You saved me." He didn't sleep in the shed that night. He stayed in the corner of the kitchen near the fire. I didn't ask him to leave. I held my baby in my arms and sat across from him. Sometimes our eyes met, but we didn't speak again. The silence between us said more than words ever could. Before the sun came up, he stood and walked to the door. I followed him outside. The snow had stopped. The sky was gray. Cold wind touched our faces. He turned to me. "If you never see me again," he started, then stopped. "Just know, I wasn't always like this." I didn't answer. I just looked into his eyes, and for the first time, I saw something soft. Not fear, not pain, just a man trying to carry too much. A man who had no place in the world anymore. He took a step away, then turned back. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small silver locket. "This was my sister's," he said. "She died last year. I don't have anything else. Please keep it. For your son. Maybe one day he'll want to know this story." I took it from him. It was cold and simple. A circle of metal with no name, no picture, only silence inside. But it felt heavy with meaning. He didn't say goodbye. He just walked into the trees. I stood there for a long time, watching until I couldn't see him anymore. Then I went back inside.